Excellent. Okay.
From the Aloe video, Sensational Opinion says, I've purchased a sweater and a t-shirt from them and they feel totally different after the first wash. Ugh.
You know, this actually can be very common across most retail brands. They're designing the products to convert sales in store. So all the decisions that they're making are to do exactly that. They'll often put a lot of treatments on the fabrics. They're gonna be brushed more than is actually should be brushed so that the fabrics feel super duper soft in store, but then that leads to poor durability long term. Even to the point where if you're designing for a retail store with a Pantone light box, you're actually designing for specific lighting conditions so that the product presents best within store lighting, which is actually typically warmer than daylight lighting. So this is why it's so important to do your research and to look at the labels, because not everything that's gonna look and feel good in store is gonna be actually a great product for you to take home and wear long term.
From the Yeezy video, Carlisle says, yes, quality may be in question, yet what he's attempting and the much larger vision is extremely important and disruptive to the current fashion ecosystem. This is the process, and it takes lessons learned from failed products to create successful products.
I'm just gonna disagree with what you just said. There are lessons to learn when creating products, but those lessons have already been learned by other brands. That's why you work and you partner with people that have established supply chains so that you can deliver a product for $20 and it still be good. For you to say that lessons are to be learned, that means these lessons are being learned at the expense of his fans and his supporters, which he shouldn't be doing. It's like when he did his Life of Pablo shirts and he sold $100 Gildan shirts that cost $3 to purchase. I ultimately really don't think this is anything more than a cash grab. I love Kanye, I love his music, but to create products that are pretty decent quality and sell them for 20 bucks is absolutely doable. He just chose a route that didn't let him achieve that.
From our Yeezy video, I Am Shay Key says, I think what got lost in your plot is that each piece is only $20. As much as we've streamed his albums, I don't mind supporting via clothing experiment.
You know, I think it would have been okay if he labeled it as Vulture's clothing experiment, but he didn't. He put this as his first collection, and a lot of people bought this, assuming that he put his thought and attention into creating a product that was $20 and also a great product, but instead what they got was an experiment. And at the end of the day, I don't think a lot of people signed up for this experiment.
This is from one of our latest YouTube videos. User 6656550 says, love your content and really appreciate your insight on different aspects that come together in creating a piece of clothing. I'm wondering if you and your colleagues have seen any shifts in manufacturing space due to automation and AI, or perhaps it's too early to tell.
So when it comes to automation and AI within the garment industry, especially for manufacturing, there's already automated like cutters to cut the fabric, but the difficulty when it comes to garments and textiles in general is because it's such a soft, flowy material, there's no hard mounting points or set points that robots or automations can actually repeatedly go back to. I've seen attempts in the past where they put a stiffener material to stiffen fabric to be able to sew it. I don't see anything currently being developed to automate or AI stream the production of garments. Like I've seen some crazy jumps in the past year and a half when it comes to AI, so I would not be surprised if some sort of automation comes into play. I also think when it comes to textile industry, what is that cost to develop this automation versus the available pool of cheap workers? And when it comes to textiles and fashion in general, there's just so many low-cost workers available that I don't know if there's enough incentive to drive that venture capital and all that investment to develop automation within the textile industry. Who knows? Maybe we'll see it sometime in the future.
User GMTAA8819 says, you mentioned the 4x possible 3 markup and implied that was lower but made sense strategically. What would be a good markup? For example, activewear or loungewear? Do different categories have extremely different markups? I assume technical clothing like ski wear or lingerie might have a higher markup. So for a small brand, what's a good markup for them?
Okay, so when it comes to markups in general, including startups, it's really just the combination of what are you trying to create when it comes to the brand, the story, the narrative, the experience you're creating for your customers, and then what are your customers willing to pay for that? You look at, let's say, brands like Gentle Monster or Mischief, they charge a lot for their products, but they also create a really cool experience for their customers. And their customers are willing to pay that much for the products because of the experience that they create. When it comes to the categories themselves, you look at ones that are more specialty purchases, like swimwear and lingerie. Those tend to have a lot of a markup just because people are buying them for celebratory reasons. Like, I'm going on a big vacation, I'm going to buy a bikini that the top is $150 and the bottom is $150, when it really does not cost that much to make at all. There's no fabric utilization in bikinis. And same thing with lingerie. People buy them for special occasions. It really is going to depend ultimately on where you're trying to position your brand again and what the customers are willing to pay. When it comes to startups, they often will start smaller, and then as they build out more clout and as they want to create a better experience, I think Represent is a great example of this in the recent years. They've really jumped up in prices. That is when you're able to kind of have a larger markup because you already have the customers, they trust your brand, and at that point you raise your prices because you want to provide a better experience and better product to them.
Joe, I got a question for you. What products do you look for in brands to gauge their overall quality?
I would say t-shirts are an entry point for most people to get into any brand. So it's always a great way to gauge how much are people actually at this brand thinking about the product itself, because the t-shirt can be a kind of a tool to just generate revenue, and they'll just slap their logo on whatever fabric, whatever t-shirts, and not put a lot of thought into it. So that's one route, and that kind of gives you an overall kind of idea of how the brand treats its product and its customers in general. Now, I think Cole Buxton does a great job of this, where their t-shirts, they're expensive, but the t-shirts being an entry point for the brand, the fabric is really nice. It's not a regular single jersey knit. There's a lot of thought and intention put into the t-shirts itself. And when you put that much thought and attention into your quite often simplest item, it kind of gives you an idea of how much the brand itself is going to put into the rest of the products that they're creating.
For somebody that doesn't know much about GSM, certain types of knits, what could they look for to get a good quality garment?
Yeah, a lot of people like GSM because it's just the heavier, and they assume because it's heavier, it becomes more valuable or higher quality. That's not the case. But feel the fabric. Is the fabric nice? Is the fabric scratchy? Is the fabric feel cheap? And gauge it to other products that you've seen, right? If there's a lot of loose threads on a garment, that's a great way to show that their quality control standards are lower. Loose threads are kind of par for the course when it comes to garment manufacturing. It's just, but like, how many of them? Is there stains? Is there things that are crooked? Like, that drives me absolutely insane when things are crooked on clothing. It's like, you have one job, or build a jib or a template for that. But things like that, when you can really feel like, does this just feel like everything else I've ever felt before? Or does this feel like this is a little different? There's a little more thought and attention put into this product other than being a different variation of beige.
If you guys want to see more of these type of videos and more on what goes on behind the scenes in fashion, don't forget to subscribe and check out these videos.